Brother, are you all right?
No, I am not all right. I just shared a bottle of Kanar with Damar. That rhymes.
You're drunk.
Of course I'm drunk.
Well, good evening, afternoon, and whatever fucking time it is where you are. Yes, gratuitous swearing is authorized because apparently that's a new thing in the late 24th, early 25th century. Who knew? Apparently, Kurtzman knew because he let it happen and probably advocated for it a number of times. So, yes, we are finally back on air with Kanar with Damar, which means, oh, the pain is over. The pain is truly over. Or is it?
No, and I just gave you a dislike for this too, by the way.
Oh, hey, you watched it of your own accord again.
For a refresher for this.
Did you really need a refresher, though?
Yes, because I didn't realize how bad it was. It was far worse than I originally gave it credit for.
Okay, what was a standout failure of yours? You know what? Let's just start with the last two episodes because, you know what? Let's stick with the series finale of Star Trek Picard. Wait. Maybe that's a little bit of wishful thinking. I mean, they only build it as a season finale, but we can hope, right?
No.
Yeah, well, it's already been confirmed that the second season's in the making.
That doesn't mean it's going to finish.
Well, that and they did leave room opening for a lot more than just one extra season.
Oh, god damn it. They really are trying to ruin every good intellectual property, aren't they?
Well, it's not just CBS. Disney's trying to do that too, but that's for another.
Another episode. I just said they. Well, see, here's the thing. This is not just going to be strictly Star Trek Picard related. We can complain and criticize every attempt at a sci-fi series over the last few years. Let's go with that, because there is definitely a stark raving difference. Let's just pick a nice even number. In the last 4 years, how many good new sci-fi series have come out? There's one that comes off the top of the head.
Yeah, I can only think of one, and that's The Mandalorian. I actually do enjoy that one.
Two. But see, I still put Star Wars more towards the fantasy aspect, but we'll lump it in with just strict sci-fi. Then there are two. There have been two that I've seen even bits of that are actually, in my opinion, entertaining, original, and not demolishing any prior existing canon.
What about the Orville?
That's number 3 on my list, but the top 2? Mandalorian is there, but not the first one that came to mind. Someone in the chat already mentioned it.
The Man in the High Castle, maybe?
I see that.
Shit.
It started off with a good premise, but the execution in the long run just fell flat.
Well, I must admit that I thought that the executions were very well made.
So was The Expanse, Altered Carbon, Dark Matter, Killjoys?
The Expanse is the first one that came to mind. Because Altered Carbon, I will admit, I've only seen little glimpses of. I haven't actually watched it enough to truly give it a critique. But The Expanse, that is gritty sci-fi at its best, at its current peak. It took that realistic, dark, and for lack of a better term, unfinished and raw nature that Firefly had, but did not go spaghetti western with it. And The Mandalorian is actually continuation of a long-standing sci-fi franchise done right. They're not trying to push anything. They're just letting the story be the story, and they're not trying to do too many references to the historic canon up to that point, with as pretty much a bait and switch. Because let's be honest, the majority of references in Star Trek Picard to the other series, to existing canon going into it, was really there for lip service. We're going to give you enough to pull in the older fans, only to punch them in the gut. Oh wait, the gut punches aren't working. Here, let me slap you in the face. Oh wait, that didn't work? Here, let me rip out your throat.
Actually, it felt more like a kick in the balls.
Oh yeah, because there is two characters that they handled correctly, in my opinion, in Picard when it came to the nostalgia points. And I think the director of the episode had a real big reason why it actually played out that way. Yes.
Yeah. Was that episode directed by Frakes?
When he first appeared, yes. Not the last two. When they first went to see Riker and Troy, that episode, notice the episode without Soji, that was directed by Frakes. Which is actually, if you go back a few episodes of Kanar with Damar, you'll see me referencing the fact that how bad is it that a knowledgeable, as diehard as you can find Trekkie out there, doesn't realize when he's tweeting directly to one of the lead character's actresses, pointing out how even a director like Frakes could not save that episode from being a complete train wreck of its own. Yeah, that is saying something. When
are you talking about Nepethe, the episode 7?
Was it 7 or was it 6?
It was 7.
Yeah,
it was 7 where they spent the time with Riker. And that was not directed by Frakes. I don't see that as a credit to him. It's to Douglas Aronofsky.
Then Frakes must have been the episode before.
Nope. That is Mara Viaro.
No, because
VRVILO.
Yeah, there was an episode that Frakes directed that Soji was not a part of.
Stardust. City.
Stardust. Yeah.
Yeah, that was Frakes, and the one earlier, Absolute Candor, was also Frakes.
Yeah.
But other than that, that's it.
Yeah, and it is still. See, that's how. Really. You know what? This is actually a good comparison of the storyline of the entire series so far. There are so many things that are disjointed that it is so easy to get bits of it confused and misplaced, because there really wasn't a flow to the storyline. There really wasn't that cohesive progression that actually pulled you along. It was just, hey, look at this signpost, we're doing this now. Hey, look at this, we're doing this now.
I'm actually quite impressed with the amount of shows he's directed.
Oh yeah, that
are not Star Trek.
What? Yeah, that's the thing. Frakes as a director. Yep. Yeah, Frakes as a director has a lot of variety to his credit, which I actually think helps when it comes to his delivery of other stuff. Because, yeah, you have series here where he's a part of it for multiple episodes, multiple installments, and you don't really notice a massive drop off or deviation from the larger show as it goes on. Because actually, when did he start directing? Because it was during, it was during TNG.
The Offspring was the first one. Then Reunion, Drumhead, so on. Then into DS9.
That's not a bad list, actually, for TNG.
Yeah.
In terms of episode quality, that's probably above average, I'd say.
Got the second movie, the third movie of the TNG ones.
Yeah. Yeah, I knew he was responsible for First Contact, which bit more action than typical Trek, but it was the Borg, so you kind of expected it. And again, it didn't completely destroy canon. It definitely tweaked it. What are you looking at now?
No, I just went and clicked on something when I went back. Yeah, I just decided to crap out on me.
But so, back to the main point. The nostalgia of bringing in Riker and Troy the way they did, it worked. They didn't completely deviate from the character with no signs of progression. But then his reemergence as at the head of that fleet that showed up just in time, imagine that, was an expected touch, because you would expect an officer such as Riker that you didn't hear about having the political issues that they portrayed Picard as having later in his tenure, actually being brought back and put back into that role. So, yeah, it does make sense, and what really, in my opinion, killed that scene wasn't Riker. It was how grade school written quality the Romulans were in their response and lack of action given the circumstances.
You know what really killed the scene for me? Did you notice anything about the Federation fleet?
I mean, other than they were all the same ship?
Yeah, that's the point. I mean, seriously, they were running Miranda classes for like, what, 150 years?
Yep.
I would at least expected some Galaxy classes in there.
Yeah, you would expect there to be variety to the ship types. I mean...
You're right, basically all the stuff that we saw at least during DS9 and Voyager.
Yeah.
Oh, come on now, guys. Variety never works.
Oh, right. Like... Do we need to point out the Jaeger class? Talk about a kit bash. And you know what? Some people actually like it.
I actually know a worse kit bashing case.
Worse or better?
Yeah, worse. Remember the Kyushu from Best of Both Worlds Part 2, I think?
Oh, the one with the highlighters as torpedo pods on top of the saucer?
Yep, that one.
Yeah,
by the way, they still make that highlighter. I have one.
Nice. Oh, so Fino asks, which one was the Jaeger? The iron with the swallowed nacelles? No, the Jaeger class was the It was a hybrid. It was a true kit bash. And by kit bash, they mean taking parts from one model, parts from another model, putting them together to make a new class of ship. The Jaeger class was the saucer section of the Intrepid class, Voyager, and instead of the secondary hull, they used the body of a Maquis Raider with the Voyager style nacelles at the wingtips. Yep, Gregor Eder got it. Jaeger, the Maquis ship with Voyager head. Ah, the Kyushu.
Yep, that's the Kyushu.
Which has an interesting scaling to it.
I mean, what they obviously did was take a Galaxy class model, repaint it so that it looks smaller, take some pieces out, and then glue those, I think, 3 in total markers to it.
Yeah, 2
on
on top.
And 1 on the bottom.
Yep. Yep, right there. Center line on the secondary hull.
That's a historical fun fact about those markers.
Oh.
Yeah, so they are made by Schwan Stabilo over here in Nuremberg. And my grandfather worked in their factory. That's the end of the fun fact.
Nice. So
no more fun, back to work.
Ugly German True said, I thought it was one of the new ones like the Norway and Akira. It was around the same time frame. It was the Dominion War era, just after. And it was used as background filler during the Dominion War era at DS9.
You know what? You're right. That one's actually worse.
I told you.
That's worse than the Kyushu, yeah.
It's just... Why? I mean, I get it. They were trying to just put some variety out there. Middle of wartime, industrial replicators. Oh, just upsize these parts. Kind of makes sense, but at the same time... Really? Oh, Ire has asked, any Picard spoilers tonight because I've not watched it yet.
Turn back now.
Normally I would say don't, but at the same time,
you must suffer the brain hemorrhage that I did.
Oh, come on, the Nova class is fine.
Yeah, the Nova makes sense because it was a combination Oberth and Miranda to go along with the Intrepid.
Even though you can't really use it over long travels because it will break down immediately. Kind of like a Chevy Nova.
At least it's not a Ford Galaxy.
Yeah. Well, now, so funny thing Gregor just says is they should have used Maquis Raiders instead. At least they are a common Federation starship. So, a couple of the large fleet battles during DS9, they actually did use the Maquis Raider style, those attack ships, in a number of them. As a matter of fact, it was the battle that they used as the spearhead to retake DS9. If you notice, he's calling in these attack wings to go in and take pot shots and only target the Cardassians. It was those raiders that were doing those initial steps of the battle. And so, Ira wants to know, just tell me, is it shit? It could be better. There are some nostalgia points that were well done. There were some throwbacks that were actually done tastefully, but overall, it was on par with Disney's rendition of Star Wars.
Yes.
Well, I'd say I've seen worse Star Trek episodes than the finale of Picard.
That is true as well.
True. Well, worse in what way? Writing or execution or both?
Both.
Because there's a couple that are coming to mind, but not many.
Not many, but there are some.
Like, I will say, TNG first season had quite the doozy in, what was it, episode 4? Of course, counting Encounter at Farpoint as one episode.
Okay, so let's see.
Wait, TNG episode 4, that was that Code of Honor?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one was horrendous.
It's not the worst TNG episode, though.
Not the worst, but it was up there.
Yeah, I think the worst one, what was the name of it? Where Riker was in a coma, and he was just dreaming about shit that happened in season 1.
Oh.
Wait.
See, that one's so bad, the name of the episode's not even coming to mind.
Yeah, Naked Now is probably
I'll
one of the
look it
worst
up.
ones too in season 1.
I think it was season 2 that was.
Well, see, what made me...
Ah, yes, I got it. Shades of Grey. Commander Riker fights for his life in sickbay after he's infected by an alien parasite.
Oh, that one.
Yeah.
Interesting premise, but yeah, it kind of felt like a lazy writer's day. But then again, wasn't that around the time of the writer's strike?
No, that was later, I think. I think the writer's strike was in early season 2.
No, a lazy writing one was the Royale. The one where they transport down onto a planet that's been modeled after an astronaut's book. Yeah.
Oh, yes. Also, there's the Naked Now.
Well,
Yeah.
So here's saying, I don't see the Naked Now as that bad of an episode. Do I agree with recycling the exact storyline and premise from a TOS episode? Not exactly, but you have to keep in mind, and this is where I will agree with a number of people out there. A lot of the flack that Picard is getting, that Discovery got, is exactly what your original Star Trek fans did to TNG. They were not on board with it for season 1. It actually took season 1 into season 2 for them to finally accept it as its own thing and realize that, no, we're not entirely breaking canon. Yes, we can have this show and it be successful and it not be about the original series crew or a direct continuation and lineage from there. Having that time jump gave them a lot of latitude at the time, and it ended up allowing TNG to be its own series and fit in everything else without as many glaring issues that would be a fandom killer. Whereas right now, with how polarizing not just Picard but also Discovery has been, it's making Trek difficult to consider watching.
Let's see. Probably one of my favorite episodes in TNG that I think writing wise that could have been also done in like the original series if they had thought of it was Booby Trap, season 3.
Oh, yes. That was done with the minefield, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
they
that
just
was a
kept
great
draining
one.
the energy.
Yep.
Yeah. And that... And see, here's the thing. With all the episodes throughout TNG, it's already been said in the live chat, and I completely agree with it. The way that they handled it, they actually did still... They kept an episodic nature while still having character progression throughout the series, throughout the show. And I think that's part of where the newer vintage of Star Trek is missing the mark. They're not as effective at telling the stories for what it was that actually brought the fandom to the series and kept them. You gotta have characters that you actually are curious and care about in order to keep watching, unless you're a fucking sadomasochist like I am.
You mean people really want character development in a show? What is this? The 1990s?
90s, early 2000s, but then that's about when a lot of the reboots started happening. That's when a lot of the writing quality went downhill, and I think you'll find a lot of retirements from the writing staff in Hollywood around the same time as well.
I gotta like calling bullshit's comment. I just wanted more Jerry Ryan. It wouldn't have helped the story though, unfortunately.
Yeah. So there's a thing. They actually, of all the characters in Voyager, Seven was as a regular character. Seven was there the shortest amount of time and got some of the most character development.
Oh, she did.
How messed up is that? And then you have Perpetua Edison, Kim.
Well, even in Picard, 7 of 9 got more character development in the few amounts of time she's on screen than anybody else did. Even more so than Soji did.
Yeah, you get more. With Soji and a lot of characters, it was literally like flipping a switch. Like just off on. Is like, no, boom, I've changed. Whereas, yeah, with Seven, with what is actually exposed there, what is actually talked about and shown, there is actual glimpses of some writers somewhere in that room actually knowing what the hell to do with a character.
Especially that one show where everybody saw her personalities.
Yeah.
Remember that one where she got the Borg equivalent of split personality?
Yeah. Well, Vinculum.
Possible? Yeah, might be.
And that's where you can understand you giving it for what it is. You can look at Seven's character development, and if you have the memory to recognize who Icheb was, especially to her as a de facto child, as a son, you can see why his death, especially in the conditions that he was in and her playing a part in it, would push her beyond a limit. That bit of writing and character development, which is arguably the only character development that actually took place on screen, made sense in what was set up. But everything they hinted at with Picard, yeah, that really does not sound like the Picard that we left at the end of Nemesis.
Yeah.
Am I the only one who has a problem with them killing off all those characters?
Oh, that's another thing too. Now, granted, Star Trek has not been a kind series to extras. I just remember, we're going to go with TOS era on this one now. A stormtrooper and a red shirt get into a firefight. The stormtrooper misses every shot. The red shirt still dies.
Yeah, but those are red shirts. Those are literally like cannon fodder story-wise.
Yeah, but so for having the death of a character on screen doesn't really. It's not a foreign concept to Trek. It's the way they handled it and the way they portrayed it to where a lot of the deaths were meaningless.
Yeah, that's the point. Usually in earlier series, some of the deaths were just sacrificial. I mean, obviously with Data and with Spock being the prime examples.
Yeah. But, oh god, speaking of that, how the hell can an artificial life form, simply from reading a frickin' book, learn how to do a Vulcan mind meld?
Fuck do I know.
It's things like that. It's details like that anyone who's watched enough of the series to truly have an educated standpoint and view on it, you gotta scratch your head and go, that's not how it works.
By the way, Jared, I almost missed this comment in the live chat from LRJ88. How large is the Enterprise D?
Yeah, because the D was surprisingly large.
Oh, fuck's sake.
Hey, blame those two, not me this time.
Do you all have a soundboard of unfortunate quotes of mine?
Just he does.
No, just me. And I have,
Okay, I
I
gotta
have
be
some
really
of other
careful.
people too.
Okay, example.
Steve, Karis,
Play it.
working on Reds. Although it's not as funny because he does it intentionally.
Oh, which one are you going to start off with from Steve?
Oh, I have already, because I have the remix for Steve too.
Hmm.
I'm working on expanding it. There's only so much time in the day, you know.
This is true. But so, Jet Guitar says, how do y'all feel about Shatner saying he wouldn't play Kirk again because he felt the character was played out? I mean, gotta respect his decision as it is his, but how do you feel almost robbed it all? I don't, because you could tell that Shatner was done with the character in Generations. I mean, hell, he was done and happy with the end of Star Trek VI.
Yeah.
Which I agree with. Had they not included Kirk in Generations, they could have still done a good, proper transition to the TNG crew for the movies. I mean, was there really a reason to have that sort of direct tie-in?
Well, the main problem that I have with Generations was, where did the generations actually meet? Like, if you replaced Shatner or Captain Kirk by, I don't know, Zulu, the story wouldn't be any different.
Yeah.
It's Guinan.
Well, yeah, Guinan was in the story, Guinan was the bridge across because she was with the rest of the Elorian refugees that Soren was de facto trying to save / commit suicide with. All depends on your perspective. And she was there, rescued by the Enterprise B. She then ends up as a friend and de facto counselor for Picard, and ends up as a civilian on the Enterprise D. So you do have that sort of bridging the connection through her. And it doesn't entirely break anything because of the two-parter Time Zero that they did, where they went back to, what was it, the early 1800s San Francisco?
Yeah.
And she was there?
A little later, I think. 1830s, maybe?
1870s.
Late, right, let's see.
If I remember right, it was it was either just before or just after the Civil War. So it was either 1830s, 40s, or 1870s, 80s.
Later, yeah, 1870s, 80s probably. The way that they depicted Mark Twain, he was born in 35 and died in 1910.
Yeah, so it would have been late 1800s.
Yes.
Yeah, they only list as late 1800s on IMDb, but I'm sure it's the 1870s, 1880s is what it was.
80s into the 90s. Because you figure Twain, 80s, that puts him at 50. Not quite as old as he's visually depicted, but pretty close. So, but back to the whole thing with Shatner saying he was done. I mean, when you look at what he's done related to the franchise and the character, you can kind of give him credit for wanting to say, enough is enough. I can't help you guys. You've done enough damage that even I can't fix it.
Well, let's be honest. If Shatner were to actually go back and direct and play Kirk again, he'd probably Shatner himself on screen doing it.
True. Because, you know, I'm okay with characters and the actors who play them aging. It's a part of life, and if you properly write out your scripts and everything and do it in an appropriate time frame, you can have it built in and not a problem. And this is where I don't have a problem with Brent Spiner saying, no, Data's dead. He's not coming back. Leave it the fuck alone. I mean, he was a driving force for the noble sacrifice that Data did at the end of Nemesis. Why? Because he even recognized Data's an android. I'm not. Like he would have, if not already did, physically age out of the role, all things considered.
I mean, that's probably why he chose to play a bunch of Soongs in the last 20 years.
Yeah. Because biological characters make sense, and also it makes sense for the visual template. I mean, it fit in.
Did you actually notice that parallel between the two-parter in Enterprise and what we saw now in Picard?
Yeah, kind of looks like the Soongs are going back to biological engineering instead of just mechanical.
Yeah, no, but I mean story-wise, you know, a Dr. Soong being the de facto leader of some sort of either augments or in this case android
race.
society that then go rogue.
Well, and that's where there was good reason to believe that what you actually saw on screen initially wasn't a son in the way that it was portrayed, but lore, which would have made a lot more sense than what it actually on screen at least ended up being portrayed as.
Yeah, I mean, we still technically don't know what happened to Lore after the ban. I mean, he was switched off, but what happened then?
So, got another interesting question from the chat. Does it make sense to have Q age, though? I think so, because let's look at what out of all the series, which one actually has the most information and the most interaction with Q?
Either Picard or Janeway.
It was Janeway. While the number of episodes are about equal between TNG and Voyager on the inclusion of the Q, you get a lot more insight into the Q in Voyager.
Yeah, you do.
So, to me, with the portrayed boredom of the continuum that was shown during the trial, it would make sense that they would have a visual appearance that would fit the location, at least a couple of them, which there were a couple elderly looking Q in that episode.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but again, it is telling. It is very telling when, after watching any amount of Discovery or Picard, that you can go to Enterprise as eye bleach.
Pretty much.
Not saying that Enterprise was that bad, though. I think it was a little bit underappreciated in some cases.
It was.
Season 3 is still the best, I think, in that.
Yeah, so...
I actually think season 4 was better. Especially the 3-parter.
The augment one? Yeah.
No, the other one. About...
Terror Prime?
No. When the Romulans built that drone ship and tried to sabotage
and
the
the
relations
Andorians.
between the Tellarites, Andorians, Vulcans, and humans.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the Babel 1, United, and Anar.
Yes, Babel 1, that was the first one, yes.
Yeah, that... Again, even what was not enjoyed at the time of a Star Trek series had better writing and presentation than what we've gotten in Picard.
I mean, even their Mirror Universe episodes weren't that bad in Enterprise. They weren't the best, but they weren't the worst. Some of the ones in Deep Space Nine, they could have done without the Mirror Universe.
Yeah, but at the same time, the Mirror Universe in Enterprise, I mean, I know that they told Bakula to play an evil, cutthroat version of Archer. But come on, I've seen better acting from the skeletons in Army of Darkness.
Yeah,
Let's
but
be
those are
honest,
professional actors.
The best mirror character, in my opinion, in that episode was Phlox.
Yeah. He actually portrayed it as genuinely sadistic of a character that doesn't see it as being a problem.
His performance was kind of similar to back in Voyager when in that Equinox Part 2, I think it was, when they switched off the Doctor's ethics program.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's really, especially that sort of character, that's how it should be done. Where the main difference between the Mirror Universe and the Prime Universe really is that question of what is ethical, what isn't, what is a moral judgment, what isn't. I mean, they've, similar to Warhammer, in the sense that might makes right is what the prevailing thing in the Mirror Universe was, whereas the whole intellect and higher philosophy, that's what reigns supreme in the Prime Universe as has been presented, with the ability to put up a fight when need be. Yeah, and Glober Mom has it right too. And what better character to do that with than a doctor? I mean, that's really where you're going to see those sorts of differences truly play out, especially in a nuanced way.
I mean, they kind of tried it in Picard with Jurati, but it didn't really work, in my opinion.
You know, I don't... And here's the question. How much of that do you put on the writing? How much do you put that on the actress?
The actress, I think, was fine. For the script she had to work with, I think she did all right.
I think it's a combination, both leaning more towards the script writing, but there were some parts where she was she was just stiff, and you needed more emotion from her on it. Like you could tell when she was killing Maddox that it wasn't. I didn't get the feeling that she truly cared for him. She was just like putting up a brave face for the camera, so to speak.
Yeah, I've seen a
And
number of.
to somebody in the side chat, Anamorphic Mind, yes, we're all in agreement that Kurtzman should never write for Star Trek again.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that Kurtzman is an absolutely horrendous writer and showrunner to begin with. But, dude, you have a habit of coming in to established intellectual properties that are already burning dumpster fires and trying to put it out by pissing on it. Not saying you're not trying, but you gotta rethink your tactics, dude. I mean, after an episode of VTW, we actually ended up having a chat. Myself, Jay, you were there for a little bit, and Tekatron and vegan atheist Coral was there. And Kurtzman did his best to try to fix and get Transformers back on track. Didn't exactly work, but it was a little better than it was before. But that's not exactly what Kurtzman did with Star Trek here, because he essentially had a blank slate to work with, to where he could show that no, it's not going to be Discovery 2.0 in show presentation and quality. But what did we get? Oh, wait, no. It was Discovery 3.0 with more shaky cam and lens flares.
Well, he has been sucking up to J.J. Abrams lately, I hear, so.
Why? I mean, that whole shaky cam and lens flares for no reason is part of what really was a continuous nagging point on the rebooted movies. Which, here's the thing. Those movies, I was willing to give a good, serious chance, because from the beginning they said, hey, we're rebooting it. It's not going to be exactly the same. Yes, it's going to be the characters, but there's going to be major deviations, because this is not going to be prime timeline Trek. And guess what? By being honest about that, you get a lot more latitude from the fandom. Imagine that! Yeah, and...
So, wait, are there already any ideas for season 2? Anything that has leaked?
Not that I'm aware of, just that it's been approved.
Well, let's...
Okay, so let's think about absolutely idiotic yet not completely outrulable ideas for plot in season 2. Let's see. Neelix has to work with Garak to... No, that won't work.
No. Well, let's start with the elephant in the room. Even though synths are now magically no longer illegal and free to travel, do they or do they not let everyone know about Picard's physical condition now?
Or lack thereof, because he's now a synth.
Well, that was a major spoiler to the people that still haven't seen it.
At this point, it's been a few weeks, and if you're not in my Discord with access to the Google Drive with all the episodes,
Yeah, that's fair.
Season 2,
So...
Q and Guinan. Oh.
No. Season 2, Q and Guinan have children.
That would be interesting. Because the Q really didn't like the Elorian.
There's something wrong with my fucking microphone. Just give me with my headset. Give me a second. I think I have to plug it back in or something.
Ugh, ugly German truths. I'm there with you. I have a hard drive sitting here that was full of my military memes. It's not coming back.
Season 2, The Lost Game of Jumanji. You know, that could probably be a better season than what we got.
Glober Mom's like, who's to say they didn't already have children?
The vibe that was given off in that episode of TNG wasn't so much a ex-lover kind of thing, but more of, I know you people. You people live longer than anyone naturally should. You're weird. You're abominations, and our shit doesn't work on you. So no, we hate you.
Well, it was different kind of loathing compared to, for example, what the Bajorans felt about the Cardassians.
True. Well, then again, on screen we actually got explanations of why the Bajoran didn't had an understandable lack of fondness for the Cardassians.
Yeah. I wonder what kind of historical event was used to, write that kind of situation into Trek. I have no idea.
A hyper-religious, persecuted sect. I mean, I have no idea what they could have drawn from.
No. I mean, it's not like that. It was also referenced recently by Leonard French in a letter that, or in a reply that he was reading, and they didn't catch it in time to censor it out properly.
I may have missed that one.
Like 2 days ago or something like that.
Do you have a link? I haven't seen it one either, I think.
Give me a second. It's in my history.
Viewing history is such a wonderful feature on YouTube. It's one of the few things they've actually done right.
Nah, it's completely useless.
Well, wait, what level of useless are we talking about? Are we talking...
There you go, in the internal chat.
Are we talking Kess level useless, or... You know what? Here's a question. Oh, you know what? Ezri. What? Granted, the character was only there for the last season, but what use was there for Ezri Dax other than keeping the character being the symbiote there for Cisco?
Well, obviously they wanted to introduce a counselor that actually does her job well. And obviously the most useless character in all of Star Trek, I think, was the helmsman of the NX-01 Enterprise.
He gets a better.
Travis.
Travis, thank you. I can't even remember his fucking name, so useless he is.
Yeah, Travis gets better story arc in the Romulan War series novelization. Because he's basically considered bad luck in every ship he goes to.
Well, to be fair, look at the shit that they put the Enterprise NX-01 through.
Yeah.
I really like that ship.
You know, it does... That design of ship made more sense in the progression than the Daedalus that was given in TOS. Because you have saucer sections of varying dimensions all throughout, and you keep going further and further back, and it's still saucer section, saucer, saucer, saucer. Hey, let's try out a ball with a cigar coming out of its ass. I mean, it just didn't fit the lineage.
Wasn't that one? That was a Daedalus class, right?
Yeah, the Daedalus, the original Daedalus, which was NCC 300s series.
Here we go.
Yeah. Because I'm pretty sure that I've seen somewhere that this model was designed after the voyage. What was it called? Fucking Discovery 1 from 2001: A Space Odyssey. Because it was in season 3 of TOS, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, so going from that ultimately
exactly.
to a constitution kind of makes sense, but that's where it's eh. And they tried a little bit of retcon in the series finale of TNG with the medical supply ship that Captain Crusher was in charge of.
Give me a
The
second.
Olympic class, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, that thing is pretty much the Starfleet
Pasteur.
equivalent. Yes, the Starfleet equivalent of whatever was just sent to New York City.
Yeah. Yeah, the hospital ships, those were actually originally built as tankers. The USNS Comfort and Mercy. Yeah, they were commandeered merchant vessels and then refit to be 1,000+ bed hospital ships. Now, interesting fact that that's taking place recently is someone decided to try to derail a train and go right at the USNS Comfort.
Wait, what?
Yeah. A locomotive engineer decided to lose his mind, claiming that they're not here to help us, they're here to infect us worse. So I'm going to take it into my own hands and derail my train in a line towards the ship and cross my fingers that it reaches and does damage. It didn't.
I mean, there have been a lot of weird events recently. Have you heard about this incident in South America?
Which incident was that?
There was I think, Uruguayan naval ship that tried to sink a freighter for whatever reason by ramming it. But
I have not heard that.
That the freighter was actually an icebreaker, and the naval ship sank. Let me try to find the story.
Cargo ship Uruguay reefer abandoned. Nope, that's not it.
I got it. It wasn't Uruguay, it was Venezuela. Venezuelan Navy ship sinks after ramming reinforced cruise liner. Columbia Cruise Services, the owner of the cruise ship, said that the Venezuelan crew had fired shots and appeared to be trying to seize the civilian vessel, which was also an icebreaker. The 304 feet long RCGS Resolute is a luxury liner which sails under a Portuguese flag and is designed for voyages in Antarctica.
Interesting.
So yeah, the Venezuelan ship called Naiguata rammed it and started sinking.
Here's an interesting one. Anybody know of any Trek ships with 2 saucer sections? The closest thing I can think of that's coming to mind is a variant of the Nebula class, but that was a sensor dome on the top, not necessarily another saucer section.
Yeah, well, there are two types. So there was a sensor dome, which kind of looked like the AVAX antenna.
Yep.
And there was the triangular one, which I think was
a weapons pod.
canonically torpedo pods.
A weapons pod, yeah.
Yeah, but that looked more like a saucer than the sensor array.
Yeah, but that's... I'm trying to think of anything else where it would visually look like two saucer sections, and that's the only one coming to mind. Now, you have had ships that have broken one of Roddenberry's cardinal rules for ship design of only two nacelles per ship.
Yeah. What about the Crossfield class? Does that count? I mean, the fact that the saucer was like partitioned into rings.
You mean the glorified pizza cutter?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah,
But otherwise, no, I don't know anyone.
And here's another thing. New reattempts to reboot Star Trek have each had ships with massive openings in the middle of the saucer section. You have the Crossfield class and then the Vengeance in Into Darkness.
Oh God, yeah, the Vengeance also had a hole in the saucer section, right?
Wait, where was the one? Trying to think of the ship the Doctor went to, and I want to say it was season 5 or season 6 of Voyager. Probably be easier to look it up via Andy Dick's name than trying to go through all the.
Oh, you're talking the Prometheus?
Yeah, that's the episode. That's season 5, isn't it?
Or was it 4?
Could have been the tail end of 4.
Because it was right there around the middle, because the Dominion War is going on, and so it was during the last couple seasons of DS9 during that overlap.
Yep, Message in a Bottle, season 4. But it's not really a saucer, so that doesn't count.
No, it's more of a dagger type. But even then, that one had a vector mode of 3 segments.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of it.
Yeah, that is another thing with sci-fi in general. You can really get out there with your ship designs and not entirely break everything. I mean, there is reasonable suspension of belief that's required for pretty much every sci-fi property out there.
So yeah, regarding the Prometheus, I think that just counts as one saucer.
Yeah, because the rest are just further segmentation. Well, further segmentation of the secondary hull. Question: how many Starfleet ships could actually land on a planet? Well, technically, Pheno has it right. All of them, once. But for routine and repeated landings, they marked that as a primary design feature of the Intrepid class that it could. Then you have your smaller auxiliary craft, which here's the interesting thing that throws a gray area onto it. The Danube class runabout.
Yeah, I'd say I was about to talk those as well. I think those count as full-blown starships.
They do.
For the that they have a warp drive and a reasonably fast one.
They can go warp 5, which has them be essentially a standalone craft, so they are commissioned as their own instead of your shuttlecraft, which still can go for higher warp speeds in short duration. They
Not all
don't.
of them.
Yeah, we're looking Type 7, Type 8. So even
I gotta
those
check those out.
Voyager time, Voyager era, and end of TNG, they had legs for short bursts, but they were still registered as part of their assigned ship. So they still had the registry number of the ship they came from, but just had a name attached to it. Yeah, the Voyager actually had the landing feet, which was, again, one of the design features that they really touted about it, and then only... give them credit, though. They actually used it a couple of times.
Yeah, I mean, it's more or less the same gimmick type of thing that they used regarding saucer separation for the D. They just ended up using it like maybe 5 times in the series. Something like that.
Okay, well,
And actually, can we assume that the Nova class also had the same features of landing legs?
Possibly. It was never shown on screen or talked about, but it is probable, because the Nova was part of the design lineage that led to the Intrepid.
You're right. It's basically what the Nova class behaves to the Intrepid class, like the Nebula class, for example, behaves for the Galaxy class.
Yeah.
You see that there's similar designs, but scaled down to make it usable for other types of endeavors or assignments. It also appears that the Nova class is the long-term replacement for the Oberth class that we've seen before.
Which makes sense. I mean, they're both made of explodium.
Well, how many Nova class ships did we actually see explode? I think only one.
How many Nova classes did we see on screen in general?
2.
What was the other one?
Oh, in Enterprise, when Archer was taken on board Enterprise J, you could see a Nova class starship in the background.
In the middle of a battle. I don't think it lasted that long after.
Right, but let's just compare the two. At the time of Deep Space Nine, 80-year-old Miranda class ships. How many Miranda class ships did we see blow up? At least 15?
True, but again, look at the age of the space frame, and also a number of them took a beating before they blew up.
Wait, didn't... I think we actually saw a third Nova-class starship. Yeah, I think, Rego, you're right. I think one was commanded by LaForge in one of the alternate timeline episodes.
Wait, was that a Nova, or was it something else?
Yep, USS Rhode Island. But it was not LaForge, it was Captain Harry Kim. LaForge actually had a...
Was the Challenger, yeah. I thought he was on a Galaxy.
Yeah. So yeah, USS Rhode Island in Voyager's Endgame.
Yeah. So, how... Given the season is over, and how would you rate the end of it compared to series enders of the rest of Trek?
Ooh. I'd say it's almost on par with these other voyages. Let's see. It's worse than Endgame. It's worse than
Well,
What You
let's.
Leave Behind.
Yeah, I was gonna say let's just put it at the top. DS9 with What You Leave Behind was arguably one of the most emotional and wrenching series enders, and it made complete sense, and it really did put a proper end to that series as it was built and the way everything played out. Because the linchpin of it all really was Cisco. So with the end of the Dominion War and Cisco going to join the Prophets, story's over. Yep, TNG would be second with All Good Things. Because again, you actually do get a sense of closure of that chapter. You get that sense that, okay, from the TV series standpoint, we're at a good point. They were then ready to go into the couple of movies that they did. Granted, they stumbled out of the block, shocking. But for series ender, TNG number 2.
Yeah, then probably Endgame. Even though I had the feeling that the last 10 minutes or something of Endgame were a little bit rushed. I think they might have deserved like half an episode longer regarding what actually happens when they arrive on Earth.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think Endgame was a good part. So the the end of the episode Endgame. So the part 2 of that was a good part 1 for a proper series ender for Voyager. You really did need to get them home and then have the fallout. Because we knew that the Voyager crew wasn't going to be getting the movies. I mean, the most that they even did was have mention of Janeway, and her pop up as an admiral in Nemesis. So you knew that they weren't going to be getting more, so they got shortchanged. They deserved a more complete ending. But, well, now here's a question. Do you go with the truncated ending of TOS or Enterprise first?
Well, did TOS really have an ending? I had the feeling that it just stopped.
That is where the debate comes in, because it was canceled and it just stopped.
Yeah, therefore I'd say that TOS and obviously TAS as well didn't really have an ending episode, so I would just not include them in the list.
But I would still put their non-ending above Picard.
I mean, it when it comes to the endings, the order that you guys are going with, I would go with 2. But Picard it was just awful. I mean, what did I say? What did I say to you on Discord about it when I first watched it in Quark's Bar? What did I say that? Yeah, I think I would rather rewatch season 1 of Star Trek Discovery again before watching that episode, which I didn't do. To do that episode justice, it could have been split into 2 episodes, and it should have been hell. They could have made part 3, since it was already a 2-parter, episode 1 of season 2. Talking about how, in what they started with TNG, where you have one part at the end of one season and you pick up at the beginning of the next season.
You
They
you
could
have the
done that.
cliffhanger. You leave a hanging question to entice people to come back and see what actually happened. But there is a problem with that. I understand your logic, but there's a flaw there when applying it to this series. Star Trek Picard made me care about the character of Jean-Luc Picard to the point where I knew what was going to happen during the final episode of the season, and it had zero effect on me.
Mm-hmm. You could see where they were going with it, with showing the golem earlier in episode 9 there. Yeah.
Even before that, it was a couple episodes before when you really get that they did not do a good, in my opinion, they did not actually hide what they were planning to do with Picard that well at all whatsoever.
Yeah, but they could have done it after Data explains what's going on, and he walks through the light, and you just left it. I mean, we all know what's going to happen, but then you can build a story that comes out of that better than what they left it as.
Well, and then you can actually write in a gap of time and actually go through the eyes of Picard of learning just what the hell has happened in the amount of time that I've been unaware of what's going on. I mean, that's the thing, is they had opportunities that they could have set themselves up for to make their storytelling easier and as a result more effective, and they whiffed. They swung for the fences and came up with nothing. And what do you think, Geo?
I'm not sure actually. But when it comes to the entire two-parter finale of that season, yeah, I think it was just bad. On a scale from 1 to 10, maybe a 2.5 at best. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
That's pretty close. So if they still hate the Victorian vampire telepath garbage they made me watch.
Sub Rosa?
Looks like it. As there, see, and that's the thing is, I will grant a lot of detractors that there are always a bad episode somewhere at some. Pick a random season of a random Star Trek series. Just pick a season, any of them. You'll find one episode that makes you go, it could have been better, or holy hell, that was bad. Threshold. But there are some that you just have to look back on and laugh because of how ridiculous they are, and not hold it as the judgment piece against the rest of the season or even the rest of the series. Because season 1 of DS9 had a horrible episode in it that I do enjoy annoying the shit out of some people every now and then with. And everyone who has seen it will know exactly the episode I'm talking about. Whether or not they know the name of it, they know the episode. Alamarine, count to 4. Alamarine, then 3 more.
Someone shoot me, please.
See, even in arguably the best presented and best written Trek series, you have episodes like that. But when nearly every episode of a season is down at that level for one reason or another, you really need to rethink the creative team that's running the series. Oh, and
I mean, it could be worse, let's be honest. I wouldn't be surprised if any future Trek series, because I'm pretty sure there will be more, Ugh. There's just one way in which this entire affair is gonna go if it's still under Kurtzman, in my opinion.
Okay, so I'm going back through the chat a little bit, and LRJ88. The Emperor and his text-to-speech device make more sense and is more emotionally compelling than Picard. Yes, if anyone out there is even remotely interested in understanding or getting an insight into the lore and stories behind the Warhammer game and intellectual property, look up Bruva Alpha Busa, If the Emperor Had Text-to-Speech. It is a longer series, and it gives you quite the insight to it. And there are some parts of it that are just so freaking hilarious. Especially if you make it to episode 7. You get to that point, you'll see why. And everything from there just kind of endears you to the characters that they bring to the screen. Oh, yeah. Dora definitely definitely hit the nail on the head there with the name of the next Star Trek show. Although,
if they don't have yogurt, it's not worth it.
Although, yeah, exactly. Although that means that someone there actually watched something of good quality and are just ripping off Mel Brooks.
Oh, so I found an article about the cruise ship that in the Venezuelan Navy ship. Apparently, it's the reason why the Navy ship went after it is because Maduro did not rule out that the cruise ship could have been transporting mercenaries to attack the military bases in Venezuela.
Yeah, bullshit.
Yeah, kind of X'd a doubt on that one.
Yeah.
Like, big X'd a doubt on that one.
I just read that and I was like, you know how dogs get that quizzical look and turn their head sideways?
Mm-hmm.
That's about what I did.
Actually, here it is in basic chat from Nightcrawler. It posted it. Venezuelan Navy rams German cruise ship and the Venezuelan ship sank.
Well, we know Germans build things to last, so I mean.
Yeah, that's just good old Kruppstahl.
Yeah, there is that. So, I decided for the last half hour, let's bring on a new voice to chime in on everything.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. So, share your pain.
Well, I stopped watching the stream for like a little bit, but I did wanted to come on and and talk about like okay, if if the Bajorans are supposed to be a certain demographic, why are the Ferengis considered these space, let's say, merchants? Because it's like,
well, you do
you know what I mean?
You do know who the Ferengi are supposed to be a commentary of, right?
Yes, the J word.
No,
or G.
no.
J. Wait, no.
Actually, no. They were actually intended to be the visage of capitalism gone completely unfettered. They were actually more of a commentary against American capitalism over anything else.
Oh, people, people have made so many space Jews jokes that it's never mind. You're demonetized. Great.
Yeah, if you want to go in that direction, check out Watto from Star Wars Episode 1.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's just like just like people always made jokes about that. Just I never really. I mean, I guess I could see that that it is capitalism to the extreme, but people are always be like, Me after each of these prisoners.
Oh,
Gotta love the
Somebody
NFL
leave.
guy making commentary about politics and social issues at the
Are
same
we
time.
sending Star Trek memes again?
here's the thing. You can, if there's a situation being talked about, you can generally find a relevant Star Trek meme that even a casual observer would understand. Like that one there. No text needed, and you could get the message across. There's another one that would work. Shut up, Wesley.
Well, yeah, okay. That
Then there's this
the whole
one.
shut up, Wesley. The what the fuck? The whole shut up, Wesley has become a cultural phenomenon. So even with people who haven't seen Star Trek, could be like, oh, I recognize that. Shut up, Wesley.
Well, it's actually to the point where at San Diego Comic-Con, it actually became a thing for someone to spot freaking what's his nuts from far enough away, and they would yell, "Shut up, Wesley!"
Okay, that meme just makes me laugh so much.
Oh, the data
I'm
plan.
calling for my new Android. Oh, by the way, I started watching, episode 1 of Picard. Apparently, Data's in there.
Yeah, more or less, basically.
Or is that? You know what? I'll watch a little more. But the first scene is like, okay, they're playing poker, which is not really a spoiler, but whatever.
Well, it's been in the trailer, so, and even then, oh, there's so much wrong with that scene. Although again, so this is the type of fuckery that people really needed to be ready for. When
That is from Star Trek, not Star Wars.
when the opening, this really does set up. Nice.
Trust Data and not lore.
I like it.
Okay, I get it. Never mind.
But so the opening, the very opening to the series, with the playing of Blue Eyes, originally
Blue
done
Skies.
Blue Skies, originally done by Sinatra.
I wondered why the hell there was that in the first. I was like,
So-
okay, am I watching Star Trek or am I
No.
watching?
So
It was absolutely clear why that song was in there.
yeah, people who actually, well, for those who recognize minutia in the series, that is a direct callback to the wedding at the beginning of Star Trek Nemesis between
I haven't
Riker and
seen that
Troy.
movie I haven't seen that movie in a long ass time, so I guess maybe that's why it felt off to me.
I slightly
Yeah, that-
disagree, by the way. It was not a callback to the wedding. It was a callback to the last scene of Nemesis, where B4 started singing that song.
Well, whistling
Hinting
it.
at the
It was
possibility
both.
that Data would be resurrected.
Well, it was a bit of both, because you have Data singing that song at the wedding. Then at the end of the movie, you have B4 whistling it, and then you begin Star Trek Picard with that song being used as the intro, going into the Enterprise D and seeing Picard and Data playing poker, which also is a good nod to the end of All Good Things, where Picard actually does join the rest of his command staff in playing a game of poker.
Sorry, I have heard what you said, but these memes are just like, okay. Hey, wait a minute, I still don't understand how we got here, or how we happened to meet. Like, that's a really weird coincidence, isn't it? There's no time to question the logic of this film, Jim. We have to catch up. Oh, I'm sorry, that's just funny. I give up. Would someone please explain to the Star Wars fans that warp speed is faster than light?
Oh God, Gio, really?
Yep.
It is very
How is Gil
accurate.
waking up every morning? Yep, pretty much.
Oh no, you're gonna enjoy this one.
Congratulations. God damn.
And then we also have the other one in the group chat too.
Star Trek did it first. Tablets, wearable tech, Android phone.
It's not wrong.
No, but
Well-
okay. Maybe I missed the episode where Picard actually does that, when he opens up,
It was
Data's chest and uses
that was actually the episode where Data was having dreams.
Yep.
Oh, so it's
It's
a
a Data
dream
episode.
sequence.
It's a Data
Yeah, well, no.
episode. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I know it's a Data episode, but that happened in a dream. Like, it didn't
Yeah.
happen. Okay, it didn't happen in show, or well,
Well,
you get the point.
It wasn't in universe. It was part of a dream sequence, but it was still one of those things that
Yeah.
when you really look at a way to measure cultural significance, a lot of technological advancement was actually directly from fans of Star Trek getting into the workforce and saying, hey, it'd be cool if we actually built something that could do that.
Yeah. Hey, where's that meme? About Picard that at the bottom said predicting the future since 1963. Like, it just shows the various technologies. Like, the one you showed before, but the other one is more detailed. You don't know which one I'm talking about?
I think I do. I have to dig that up.
Duranku, it was not Worf as a cake, it was Troy as a
Troy.
cake.
Here, no. This is someone else. Never mind.
Actually, it was a cellular peptide cake.
Fancy, badass, cheerleader, woman, mother, MILF, sex offender, professional. What the fuck? Oh, by the way, I don't know. I don't know if any of you noticed, but there's actually a pair of glasses. A pair of glasses for visually impaired people. That nearly look like the Geordie glasses from Star Trek.
Okay.
Like, just wanted to say
So?
that. But they help people who are whatever, Geo.
That's a good one. That's just perfect.
Oh, that, yes.
Captain, I'm getting confused with readings from the Vor Queen. Well, Data insert.
All right, let me see if I can find the one you're talking about.
What one did you just find?
Oh God.
Oh.
Hold on, wait, hold on. What did he find? Hold on, let me see.
No.
Just hang on. There's one.
The firm's not.
There's two coming in.
Yeah, Tashatar. Tashatar.
Oh.
The aliens were touching me right here.
Oh, that was from Picard Day. How dare you besmirch Picard Day? The man who hates children on his ship actually kept the banner from that the entire thing. But yeah, there were many a thing that really had what the
What? Am I missing something?
Give me a second.
So for those who don't know or don't remember me mentioning it, there is a private Discord DM between the regular crew where we talk about all sorts of shit, show and not show related to this. And yeah, that's what popped up, and wow.
Yeah. I remember, like, This is funny. Even in one of the epic rap battles, between Zuckerberg and Elon Musk, they actually mentioned that. God, I love that one.
Ooh.
Uh,
We could, from a fan an explanation that Picard hated kids on his ship only because they made his officers look incompetent in comparison compared to the DS9 Shrunken Crew
it's
episode.
similar. It's not this one specifically, but
Oh,
this is good too.
this one actually does a lot of it, so...
Yeah. Let's see. University of Leicester has built a Star Trek style medical bed. Oh, interesting. That's. Hey, I actually want a copy of this. Is it in your Discord as well?
But I can send you the link to it.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
you
the
do,
chat.
please.
And yes, Fino, it was TNG. It's when there was a transporter incident which actually made Picard, Guinan, Ro, Laren, and who was the fourth one? Yeah, those.
No, wait. No. O'Brien's wife.
Keiko.
Keiko,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, they were all made to be children, and then there was a attempted takeover of the ship.
This might be the one you're thinking of, though.
The comparison of the tech or episode in general?
Comparison of the tech.
Ah.
Although I like how they're using a picture from the 2000s there.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you go down, you should see Picard saying, predicting the. Yeah, this is the one, definitely.
Yeah. Well, and it's not so much predicting the future, but more influencing the future and
yeah, but the meme works.
Yeah.
Okay, the
Oh,
meme
come on.
works.
The tablet comparison makes no sense. Tablets were already shown in 2001: A Space Odyssey. That was in 1969 or 68, I think.
Well, tablets were also shown in TOS as well. Granted, they were because of the props. It was actually just literally a box around a notepad with a pencil. But that idea of a portable device with that access, with that read-write back and forth, was even done in TOS. Just it was slightly bulkier then. So
Yeah.
So who did it first really is a tough determination. But
Found a good one.
oh no, I've seen that one.
So
Ooh.
here's something I found, but can't really read it all that well. This blown up, but
The fiction to reality timeline. Yeah. There is a lot of cross between, and it's a question of
Can you post that also in the side?
yeah, I'll get it just a second because I got to
Thank
share
you.
this.
I got a horrible one.
Jesus Christ! It's about nightmare fuel. What the fuck?
but all right, so when it oh wow.
Day to die.
Wow.
I mean, okay. I don't think Kling.
So
You know, never mind.
memeable.
Yep.
Well, now, so with everything else, when you really look at it, I mean, a lot of these technological clues and hints of what could be an inspiration, while some of them, the inventors or part of the production and development team have referenced Star Trek, Star Trek hasn't been the only influence. And,
yeah.
And with that in mind, which sci-fi franchise do you think is the closest from a technological standpoint to actually being viable?
Could you repeat the question?
So, of the sci-fi franchises that you've watched and that you can recall, which one do you think, from a technology standpoint, is the most achievable and or realistic? Like, which do you think is the most probable to happen?
Well, gene editing, one of them, because we can actually do that. So it's not too far fetched to create a Khan, to create Khan or a Bashir. I mean, it's not too far. Well, there's obviously a difference between animal studies and humans, but I think I think with the right the right attitude and the right work and a lot of basically what I'm trying to say, it's possible. It might just take a couple decades.
Okay. Mark Beiser asks, near or far future sci-fi? Either. Just what sci-fi franchise do you think has the highest amount of technology shown that is potentially achievable? And here's the thing.
Doctor Who.
And
there you go.
Well, here's the thing. I have. Yeah. Okay. Now here's the question.
Yeah.
Let's see if anyone
that was mine.
Let's see if anyone in the audience can pick it up.
Hold on. Let me go back to okay. Oh. I'm not gonna say anything.
Let's give it a few minutes to see if anyone in the audience can actually see what we're showing on the screen.
I love this so much. I love this so much.
Okay, Dora has a leg up because they've already seen it on Gao's Discord server. Good on ya. Oh, okay, so they're okay. They got the quark part right, but the question is, what is actually being shown on screen?
Oh, I so want to blurt it out, but I'll wait.
Oh, this really does show who the chemist and physics-minded people are.
Basically, yes.
Alright, so what we are seeing here is the inside of a Clockwork got it! A proton!
Yes!
2 up and 1 down, Quark.
Yeah, now I'm like I don't remember why the colors.
Color charge.
Oh right, yeah.
You need to read up on your quantum chromodynamics.
Fair enough.
But so near or far future doesn't matter. Just which level of technology do you find to be the most plausible and or obtainable? And so far I agree that the majority of tech in the Expanse, not far off. And while I would enjoy the technological future that is shown in Star Trek, I really don't know if that's achievable.
Especially when you consider it's space communism. Or on Earth, anyway.
Well, no, it's... See, here's the thing. If you get rid of resource scarcity, there are a lot of societal issues that would have no reason to not be addressed and taken care of. Having that sort of utopia where you are not dependent upon a resource trade bargain type of interaction base, you really could end up where you are pursuing what you want because it's what you want to do, and not have to worry about anything else in that respect. It is possible with the appropriate technological advancement level to get rid of the resource scarcity issue. However, However, what are the tenets of Star Trek technology that most people look to? Warp speed, faster than light travel, with
Yep, and transporter, I think.
transporters and replicators.
Yes.
Those are the big three.
Well, phasers.
Well, no, he said the big three. So
Well,
so transporters to get from one location to another, replicators to replicate food, weapons, whatever, and warp speed to, go to Pluto to get resources.
well, and
So
not just
right.
Pluto. Your FTL travel
yeah.
would essentially turn the size of the galaxy, instead of it truly being a generational prospect for travel, really down to the relatively manageable distances that are shown on screen. You need faster than light travel for that to happen. In
Yeah,
order,
but even with warp speed, it still takes him 70,000 years, pardon, 70,000 years to cross one quadrant to the other.
70
No,
years.
70 years.
I know, I said 70,000 years. I got my numbers mixed up.
Yeah. So you could go from the seemingly the far end of one quadrant to the alpha quadrant. So you can pretty much go
Let's
from
just round it up
edge
and
to
say a
edge to
century
150.
to get through the galaxy.
Yeah.
I think that's fair enough.
Yeah,
From one end to the other, 1 century.
between 1 century and 150 years. Yeah. Oh, maybe that's how it happened.
Wait, stop.
Oh, no, Dora has it right. They're not Chinese.
Jesus Christ!
Yeah, those fat fucks look more American.
Hey, can't argue.
Tell me I'm wrong.
You know what? I think I will look up QED. Never mind. I'm talking to myself.
Yeah.
I need to look more into that. Thanks, Gio.
Yeah, so you have a handful of technologies that really, they'd be nice. It's a question on how to make them achievable and actually make them function in the way to be practical. That it would be nice. I see issues. I don't see them truly being achievable at this time, because
Well, aside from the technological issues, you might have political issues and all the other issues that come with it. So it's not just technological, right? Doesn't you see issues with just the feasibility of the technology, or just with everything?
well, I see them tied in this way. As technology increases, you are going to end up having. So let's remember, the universe that we see portrayed through Star Trek, humanity got to where they did as the result of the Third World War, which truly ended up being the war to end all wars, because there was a massive loss of life. And coming out of that, they had already achieved some of the advancements that directly led to what was able to be done. Because, as put out in canon in multiple series, you have the massive loss of life. You then have Cochrane achieving faster than light travel through a rudimentary warp drive, which then sparked and allowed the Vulcans to announce their presence, letting humanity know, letting the people of Earth know, we are confirmed not alone in the galaxy. We are not the only living, sentient, technologically advanced species. So it was a really huge wake-up call that, hey, maybe all the petty bullshit that we were fighting about before really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, like if life were to follow nearly exactly, I'm not saying I want this to happen, but if life were to follow nearly exactly like that, and we somehow managed to to create warp drive, and Vulcans or aliens don't show up, there may be. Have you ever heard of the what was it, like the dark forest theory, as to why there we really don't have people aliens visiting us?
there are a number of things with that. One of them is
They're in hiding basically because because they're afraid. But go ahead.
well, yeah, there's that whole thing of we are a savage species by possible comparison. I mean, look at what we put ourselves through. Look at what we do to our fellow human beings. It is rather fucked up at times when you really look at it. So there's that aspect to it. There's the other aspect that, and this is more what I adhere to, is that when you look at the type of star required for what we know as humanoid life, for the conditions to be possible for liquid water, a proper oxygenated atmosphere, all those conditions for what we know and understand as life, that dwindles down the possibilities to a significant fraction of the observable stars that we have in our local neighborhood. Now add on to that the amount of time it would take even just a radio signal traveling at and near the speed of light to go from us to them and then back. So you have a communication hurdle there unless you start getting into the technologies that are shown in Star Trek and other sci-fi, such as subspace communications that go
Or quantum entanglement, which seem to go at at super, at way past the speed of light. I know, I know there's like a whole thing that does, but never mind. Go ahead.
Yeah,
But
yeah, but you have all of that, and then also think about how long it has taken life as we know it to progress to where it has, and what we've had to deal with in our solar system and formation that has been posited out there, which has a good amount of evidence to it, but it's not solidified, but it's the best working theorem that we have.
do we need abiogenesis?
More looking at the bombardment periods that we've had to deal with.
Guys, I'll have to head out in a few minutes. It's already midnight.
Yep.
All right.
Well, this is going to be the last bit of the episode, but when
Let me
go
give my
ahead,
2
finish.
cents on this. They've been to Alabama and Mississippi. What more do we have to show them?
Did I miss? Is this a flat Earth thing? I'm confused.
no, think about the display of what types of people humans are, if that is the frame of reference.
You're gonna have to explain it. I don't know. It's just funny, but another thing what I wanted to say is that if there are other life forms out there, who are more advanced than us, they more than likely had a period where they were just as savage as we are. You know what I mean? Because unless their planet somehow was able to to have all the resources they need without them fighting and killing each other, you know what I mean? Chances are they would have a similar history to us. Over time they probably figured it out. Okay, this shit doesn't work anymore. Let's all be nice to each other. You know what I mean? Like that, maybe it's me, projecting, like human traits on. You get the point. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, and that's part of it is you have that disconnect because a sentient life on another planet is going to have its own development path that is going to directly influence how it views and interacts with its own world. And if they get to the technological level where they can go be routinely and reliably beyond their own home world, it's going to pose issues. It's going to create potential problems between them. And even then, think about it this way. How are we going to communicate with them in an effective manner without it sparking
Mathematics.
something? But
Some people have suggested mathematics.
But even then, what are we using in our mathematics almost to a fault now? Arabic numerals and the Greek alphabet.
Yeah,
Well,
but that
true,
doesn't really
but-
matter. I mean, we can come up with different symbols, right, and everything.
But that's the thing is,
But
But that's the thing is, how do you establish that Rosetta Stone type of medium to facilitate that translation? And that's where there are hurdles to deal with. But to the greater point of this is that there, what I espouse to right now is the fact that there are a shrinking number of possible worlds that would have life, that would have had the opportunity to develop as long and as far as we have, at least. Because keep in mind, in order for complex life like us, there have had to been a couple generations of stars to build up the heavier and heavier elements which we are now utilizing just in our biological makeup.
Before the current one, I believe there was 2.
Yeah.
So
At least 2.
Yeah. So this
But
is
yeah,
the
guys,
third.
I really gotta go.
Yep. All right.
All right,
Later,
bye.
Leo.
Getting too late.
Night, you.
Yeah, see you. Thanks for joining, I guess. Yeah, that's just a routine whenever I'm leaving a hangout, I'm saying that. Bye.
Later, bud.
Hey, can you talk on Discord after the show?
But-
I mean, I guess we could just stay in here and talk. But
Well, after I wrap this up, it's going to be dinner and my break time before. Guess what, people? I'm not making you wait much longer. We're going to be doing VTW tonight in little over 2 hours from now. Ah! So, yeah. Had fun. Fun and things happened last night, so.
but you're gonna miss the other show that's happening at 8.
Which one's that?
I'll tell you. I'll tell you after we go offline.
That works too. But so when you really look at it, for what has been put forth in a couple episodes of Trek of a progenitor race, which then was the seed for humans, for Romulans, for Cardassians, for the Klingons, for all these humanoid races
Or the
that
founders, or changelings. I
well,
guess.
no, the founders were their own thing. Keep in mind, the founders were not humanoid to begin with.
Well, no, I know, but I guess one of the arguments that that I've seen is that the founders are because the same actress portrayed the female changeling, and then and the woman in the message, the changelings may actually be they were solid, they were solid one day, but became like, you know what I mean?
No,
So it was actually that the changelings seeded life throughout the galaxy, but forget about it. Or, I don't know. Go ahead.
In the lore, in the canon of Star Trek, there is actually a race other than the changelings that is actually called the progenitors. They are the ones who are seen and actually are touted as the gene seeders of the humanoid races throughout the Milky Way. There was actually a TNG episode about it.
I know that's the one you're talking about, and someone also mentioned that the changelings may also have come from the progenitors.
Yeah. There's an offshoot there, yeah. But when you really look at it, so with that, there really isn't the amount of time of what we have been able to observe and calculate the age of the universe to be for there to be that sort of highly advanced civilization, and then there be us as a direct lineage follow-on with zero overlap.
But the universe existed. Let's see, it's 13.8 billion years. Removing 4.5. Like.
Now,
Go ahead. Let me finish.
Now, keep in mind there. With that, yes, you look at the time frame. It's like, well, our solar system has only been around for rough numbers, call it a third of the amount of time of what the observable universe's age is. Now, keep in mind, we are a third sequence star. You have your first, your second, and then us. With each generation of stars, you're getting more and more complex elements, because what it actually takes to create a lot of these more advanced and more dense and larger atoms are nuclear reactions, are supernova, the full life and death cycle of a star.
Which raises the question as to how whole, yeah, as to how old those stars, how long they lasted. Okay, like they because they were so massive, they probably only lasted at least 4 billion, so at least 4 or 5 billion years. After that, they exploded. The first, like, you know what I mean? Like, it raises question as to how long those stars were around in order for it to produce a star that will last 10,000 years.
Yeah.
But sorry, God damn it, 10 billion years.
Yeah, well, no, and that's where you get it is, so your larger stars typically have a shorter life cycle and have your more violent life cycle ends. And that's where, when, again, this is the postulate right now, is that the number of potential intelligent life that would have a similar or greater technological level is increasingly slim because of just that the process to make the heavier elements required takes those multiple life cycles to do.
But another question is that how many stars throughout the entire universe in various galaxies went through the same process, our solar system went through. Like, I don't really think, Earth is the only planet out there, that, well, I mean, they did find a lot of, Earth-like planets, so I guess it's not out of the realm of possibility for another intelligent species to exist somewhere out in the vastness of space. Who the hell knows where they are?
No,
So there could be a species in the, it could be a species out there who has the same level of technology we do. Maybe a little more advanced, maybe a little less. You know what I mean?
yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing is there are a bunch of variables to it, but at the same time, that first thing is what would it take to get the elements required to even do the sturdier metals to be able to build and create a craft that would be space worthy, and then a civilization to be able to live long enough to learn how to do that and how to do the manufacturing and how to do all that. There are pieces to the puzzle that time is not necessarily a limiting factor because there are a number of factors into it, such as the number of mass extinctions events that take place, which
We had like 4 or 5
yeah,
before us.
yeah. So if you figure if the world had similar life to us and had one less mass extinction event, they could be tens of millions of years ahead of us. But again, FTL travel being a requirement to span these distances in a significant fashion with limited need of multiple generations on the same vessel taking the trip, that's where the plausibility starts to become murky.
Yeah, and also another factor is that when we look at stars, we're looking in the past. So it's
Yes.
like you essentially basically go back into, like, you know what I mean? I don't think there's any way for us to, like, if these civilizations exist, they're probably long dead by now. You know what I mean? The light they're seeing, and and another thing, the light the light they're probably seeing, reach their instruments probably still shows the dinosaurs walking around. So they're like, yeah, no, we're not going
Yeah.
there. So
Well, see, and there's another thing, and this will be the question that we can leave everyone pondering after this. There's the question of if any technologically advanced civilization can survive tens of millions of years.
that is that.
Let's just think about that. Can any human, non-human, any significantly technologically advanced civilization reasonably be expected to survive tens of millions of years?
I mean,
Would
okay,
they
you know what?
would they even
Yeah,
be
go-
recognizable? But maybe we'll get into that next time.
Yeah, because I wanted to get into it, but I'm like, yeah, well, okay, he wants to leave this question. Okay, never mind. Go ahead.
2 hours.
I
So
know.
with that, keep tuned. We are going to do the typical VTW where we talk about anything, everything, and whatever the fuck comes up until we decide to pass out and call it a night. And that show will be starting in precisely 2 hours, 1 minute, and some odd seconds. So we will see you there.
Bye.
Bye.